It's difficult to be a good parent in our culture today. The forces pulling your child away from you, the corrupting influences that seek to degrade him and destroy his soul, are more numerous and more powerful and more ubiquitous and unavoidable and have more immediate access to him than at any other point in human history. This is why it's so easy to fail at parenting these days, but also why it's so crucial that we don't. And for that reason, I'm always troubled when some confused, fatally stupid and inept parenting method arises. Every few years, a fancy new parenting trend seems to crop up. They always have different names and present themselves as different strategies, but they're basically the same bad ideas repackaged and resold over and over and over again. You'll notice that up until the latter half of the last century, there were no parenting trends or parenting methods. You didn't have different types of parenting. There was only parenting. If you'd asked your great-grandfather what parenting strategy he preferred, if you asked him if he was a conscious parent or a helicopter parent or a positive parent or whatever, he would have looked at you confused, not understanding the question, or else he would have shown you his belt. And in recent decades, thanks in large part to the psychiatric industry, parenting has become much more complicated than it needs to be, with too many competing strategies, all of them seemingly designed to make your child into a dysfunctional, needy, entitled little hellion, and in that way, they've been extremely successful. Which brings us to a parenting trend that has gotten a lot of attention lately. It's called gentle parenting. Now, if you've ever ventured into the world of TikTok and Instagram parents, you are familiar with this term. It's a style of parenting gaining popularity, especially in my generation. In fact, it's very, very popular. A recent survey of millennial parents conducted by Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago found that a staggering 75% of millennial parents identify with the gentle parenting technique. So, what is gentle parenting? The website parents.com has an explainer on the subject. Quote, gentle parenting is a peaceful, positive style of parenting that is very different from that of previous generations of parents. It is but one of many styles of parenting out there, from authoritative and permissive to free-range and conscious parenting. There are seemingly more variations than a burnt-out parent can count. But if you're looking to add a new approach to your arsenal, you may want to consider gentle parenting. Now, before parents.com tells us exactly what this approach consists of, we should make note of one thing. We're told that gentle parenting is very different from that of previous generations of parents. And that's true. It's also the whole problem. Now, I'm not saying that we should parent exactly as our own parents and grandparents did. I'm not saying that previous generations of parents didn't make mistakes. I'm not saying they were perfect. But previous generations of parents did parent the people who built human civilization. They parented the pioneers and poets and philosophers and artists and inventors and warriors and leaders who accomplished incomprehensible feats of heroism and genius and who gave us every good and wonderful and beautiful thing we have in our lives. So, old-fashioned parenting, we might call it, has a track record. It's the parenting that took us from mud huts to the moon. What has modern parenting produced? Does it have a similar record of success? Or has it instead produced multiple generations of depressed, lazy, overgrown brats stuck in a perpetual state of emotional and mental adolescence? I'll let you answer that question for yourself. The point is, we should be immediately suspicious of a very different style of parenting. Why is it very different? Was the old-fashioned parenting style broken? In what way was it broken? And if it wasn't broken, why are we fixing it? Continuing, quote, gentle parenting is a means of parenting without shame, blame, or punishment. It's centered on partnership as both parents and children have a say in this collaborative style. Quote, gentle parenting, also known as collaborative parenting, is a style of parenting where parents do not compel children to behave by means of punishment or control, but rather use connection, communication, and other democratic methods to make decisions together as a family, says Danielle Sullivan, a parenting coach. Gentle parenting teaches children that they can be active in the world, set their own boundaries, trust their own needs, and make their voices heard. Now, there's a lot wrong with what I just read. Using democratic methods in your home is a recipe for dysfunction and chaos. As the father and head of my household, I am not presiding over a democracy. I was not elected to my position. Even if my children voted to throw me out of office, I would remain in power. Our system of government in the United States, in theory anyway, depends on the consent of the governed. My home does not. If your home does, that certainly means, without exception, that you have failed as a parent and your children are the kinds of horrible, out of control, miniature terrorists who nobody wants to be around and who, without miraculous intervention, will grow into maladapted, miserable adults. To explain why, it may be helpful to take a look at some examples of gentle parenting in action. In fact, this article provides one. Quote, if you're looking for a way to incorporate gentle parenting into your life, your best bet is to start small. Model what you want to see on a regular basis. Practice kindness, compassion, and empathy at all times, and try to be less demanding and commanding. Instead of saying, tie your shoes, make it a suggestion. Something like, do you think you should tie your shoes so you don't trip? Now, the first few sentences of this paragraph start out fine, but then we're told that you should be less demanding and commanding. Now, that's only half right. Less demanding, sure, but you should be commanding. Now, the problem with demands, it's not that making demands is going to traumatize your poor child. It's actually that they're weak. Demands are made by people who are not in control but want to be. Kidnappers and bank robbers make demands. Demands are desperate. It means that you're not in control of yourself or your surroundings. To demand respect is to pathetically and impotently request it. It is to shout, respect me, because nobody does. If you have to tell someone to respect you, it's a clear sign that they don't. And the fact that they don't already is a problem. But to command respect is to be regarded with esteem, admiration, and obedience without asking for it. So you should command respect in your home. If you have to demand respect from your children, it means that you are not commanding respect. So you should be less demanding because you're more commanding. But to be neither demanding nor commanding is to be a figure with no authority or respect at all. So instead of telling your child, tie your shoes, you're encouraged to say, do you think you should tie your shoes so you don't trip? Which is all wrong. A strong leader knows what things must be done and gives clear, concise, and confident instructions accordingly. Tying shoes is a thing that must be done. It doesn't matter if your child thinks he should tie his shoes or not. You don't need to build a consensus on the matter. You don't need to put a referendum up for a vote to democratically establish the necessity of tying shoes. And what if he says that no, he doesn't think he should? What then? Will you respect him as an equal and let him fall down the steps and break his neck? Or will you tell him to tie them anyway? And if the latter, and I hope it's the latter, what was the point of asking the question in the first place? Your child is a child. He has no idea what he's doing, what he should be doing, what's going on. He needs to know that you know. He needs to know that you are confident and secure in your position as the leader. Here's a parenting secret for you that is apparently not common knowledge, but should be. A child wants to be told what to do. He doesn't want open-ended questions and limitless options. He wants direction. Now, he may not know that he wants that. He may say that he doesn't want that, but that's because he doesn't understand his own wants, much less his needs. If you give instructions, not requests, instructions, and you do it clearly and firmly, he'll be a happier kid. He'll feel safer, more loved, and will end up being a better person in the long run. So this is the major problem with the gentle parenting method. It relies heavily on partnering with children who don't know what's best for them and are relying on you to know that. You should not be looking to make your child a partner in his own parenting any more than you'd want the captain of your plane to invite you to partner with him and be a co-pilot, in the cockpit. Now, your captain's commitment to democratic equality may flatter you for a moment, but it also makes it much more likely that you'll die a fiery death. Now, if you go over to TikTok, as mentioned, you'll find many examples of influencers promoting gentle parenting, and they all run into the same problem. So here's one popular gentle parenting video from a guy with 12 million followers on the platform, just to show you how popular this stuff is. And let's watch it.
Hey, the school called me today and told me about you skipping school. You lied to me about that.
I know, I'm sorry. I should have told you the truth.
Look, here's the deal for that. I think we go 2 weeks grounded. Is that fair?
Yes.
Everything makes sense?
Yeah.
All right. Look, so that's the way we do it in our house. Different scenarios, come up with different things. We don't have a set grounding or anything like that. But the kids know if they get grounded and they come and hang out with the family and they do things, help around the house, things that they're not asked to do, that grounding doesn't have to stay 2 weeks. And also, look, Drew's a senior. if her last Friday night football game fell within that 2-week thing, I'm not going to hold her back from that either. That is something I'm not going to take memories away from her. Same with, her younger sister, Ken, if she got in trouble when a friend had a birthday party. Now, maybe she doesn't get to spend the night, but I'm not going to let her miss that birthday party. We don't take things like that away, but that's kind of how we do some of the punishments here in our house. We try to do better.
Now, it will not surprise you to learn that the comments, and there are hundreds of them, are all from people applauding this strategy and saying that they wish this guy was their own dad. And that's because most of the comments are likely from teenagers who, for obvious reasons, would love to have a dad who only grounds them if they agree that it's fair and who will still let them go to parties even when they're grounded. Which is like the court sentencing you to house arrest, but then telling you that your house, for these purposes, includes anywhere on the earth. Being a husband, father, and host of my own show means life never slows down. Imagine trying to eat 31 different fruits and vegetables every day. Sounds miserable and time-consuming, and sometimes, I just want an egg sausage McMuffin. That's the fact. But with Balance of Nature fruits and veggies, there's never been a more convenient dietary supplement to ensure that you get a wide variety of fruits and vegetables every day with 31 different whole fruit and vegetable ingredients. Balance of Nature takes fruits and vegetables, freeze-dries them, turns them into a powder, and then puts that powder into a capsule. You take your fruit and veggie capsule every day, and then your body knows what to do with them. Go to balanceofnature.com, use promo code Walsh for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer, plus get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Walsh. Of course, in real life, if you tell your teenage daughter that she's grounded and then ask her if it's fair, in a million cases out of a million, she will say no. She's not going to say, oh yeah, that's fair, and then just walk out of the room perfectly fine with it. No, she's going to very stridently inform you that it is not only unfair, but it's the most unfair thing that has ever happened to anyone ever in the world. So what then? Will you respect her opinion and validate her perspective by throwing out the punishment? If so, what was the point of the whole exercise other than making you look emasculated and weak? And if you'll stick with the punishment, even though she says it's unfair, what was the point of asking her whether it's fair or not? This is what gentle parenting is all about. It's designed to make parents look indecisive and pathetic in the eyes of their children. Here's maybe the most egregious example that I found just from a quick skim of these kinds of videos. I can only stomach so much, but just watch this and try to follow this story that this mom relates. Watch.
Then my daughter just asked for dessert, and I calmly say, I don't think we have anything for dessert. Only she quickly disagrees and says we do, we have ice cream in the freezer. As the blood is draining from my face, I say, oh, that ice cream. Honey, Daddy and I ate that last. Y'all, she had a reaction. She slammed the freezer door, hands on hips, and said, Mommy, we really need to talk about this. Excuse me? This happened with the Oreos. It happened with the cookies that you made, and you said that Daddy ate the last one and that you ate one too. It happened with the other ice cream. It's starting to occur to me that she's on to us. It happened with Uncle Aaron's birthday cake. You and Daddy always sneak the good snacks at night, don't you? Why are you and Daddy sneaking all the good snacks at And how come every time we wake up, all of the snacks are gone? There is no getting out of this. And as I'm getting stared down by my 4-year-old, I have nothing to say because I am just caught. Only I didn't spend my childhood pulling hay misters and hide the snacks to deal with this. I don't have to justify myself now and my midnight Oreo snacking and whatever else I do. I am an adult, so I can do whatever I want at night and I can eat all the snacks I want. Is what I want to say, but I know that she's not going to buy that. I also know that I've taught them about this thing called fairness and sharing, and so she just wants me to share the snacks, but I don't want to. Which is where she gets me when she says, from now on, you need to just save us a little bit, please. Fair enough. But in 10 to 15 years, this is going to click and I'm screwed, so wish me luck.
Dear God. God help the next generation. That video has 360,000 likes, by the way. So let me see if I have this right. Your daughter slammed the freezer door, lectured you, and instructed you not to eat food without her permission. And you stood there, tail between your legs like a scolded puppy, and just took it. You allowed yourself to be chastised and reprimanded by your own daughter. You permitted her to rebuke you for eating your food that you purchased. This is disordered in the extreme. What you and your husband should be communicating is that the ice cream is your ice cream. It's your fridge. It's your kitchen. It's your house. You're not sneaking any snacks. They're your snacks. You should pull out a snack and eat it right in front of her. Okay? It's yours. You don't have to ask her permission. She should be grateful that she has a roof over her head, a room to sleep in, and any food to eat at all. You're so generous that you even buy her ice cream sometimes. The fact that she's ever had ice cream in her life is an act of generosity on your part. The only attitude you should accept from your child is gratitude for the things you give her and the life you provide for her. And if she speaks to you that way, you should not respond by promising to give her more snacks in the future. No, you should take away snacks, take away privileges, take away freedom until she learns how to speak to you and afford you the respect that she owes you. The only thing you have to give your child are the basic necessities to keep them alive. Everything else is a privilege, and privileges can and should be revoked if they are not deserved. Now, I had to give my own daughter a lecture like this recently. She was not scolding me for eating my own food out of my own fridge and would not dare talk to me like that. But she did tell me after I reprimanded her for not keeping her room clean that it's her room and she doesn't know why I care so much whether it's clean or not. Now, I did not validate her feelings or get down to her level to make sure that she felt seen and heard. I didn't get on my knees and look her in the eyes and say, "I'm sorry you feel that way, sweetie. That must be so hard. I really like it if your room was clean. Is that fair? Is that okay with you? Can we agree together as a team? Here, I'll help you clean it." No, instead, I stood there and simply said, "No, it's not your room. It's my room. It's my house. I let you stay in this room under certain conditions. One of those conditions is that you keep it clean. That's a requirement. It's not a request. I'm going to go downstairs, and when I come back up in an hour, it will be clean." That's it. I wasn't negotiating or asking for permission or trying to come to a consensus. Simply asserted my authority, gave the instruction, made sure that I was clear. It's not any kind of revolutionary parenting technique. It's just parenting. That's what a parent is supposed to do. I want to play one more gentle parenting video for you. Another thing that you hear from the gentle parents is that you shouldn't punish your children. You should instead rely on natural consequences, they like to say. What does that mean? Well, here's another popular parenting TikTok influencer named Dr. Chelsea. She has a doctorate in education, but still uses the doctor prefix. But here she is explaining how consequences should work. And she starts by going through some consequences that she says are bad. You shouldn't use them. And then she gives other consequences that she thinks are much better. This is the parenting expert. She's a doctor, everybody. Let's listen to her.
You ran away from me at the park. There will be no screens tonight. You didn't eat your dinner, so there's no ice cream. You failed your math test. You're grounded. You didn't clean up your room when I told you to. Now we're not going to the party. You didn't complete your chores. You can't stay home alone with your big sister. What do all these things have in common? They're unnatural and illogical consequences. And while they might work to scare your child into compliance for a minute, in the long term, they're likely to make things worse. Which is why so many of you tell me, I've been parenting and trying to do consequences and hold boundaries, and it's not working. He or she doesn't care about anything. I think your ratio's off. The ratio at which a natural consequence, not those, will work is 97-3. When you're doing 97% positive supports, then a natural consequence, natural, not like the ones in the beginning, may well be effective. But you have to get the positive supports dialed in first. Here's some examples of natural and logical consequences. Kid throws truck. Oh, looks like trucks are too tricky for today. Trucks are all done. We can try again tomorrow. Kid is splashing in bath. Up, water stays in tub. Kid splashes. Water stays in tub. Kid splashes. Oh, looks like bath is too tricky for today. Pull the plug or remove the child. Kids are fighting in the car. Slowly pull over. Be silent. Say, I drive when everybody is calm and quiet. Then don't say anything else. You can start driving again when they're calm and quiet. Kids are fighting over what show to watch. Oh, looks like shows are too tricky for today. I'll take the remote. Let's try again after dinner.
Okay. Well, you should know from the start not to pay attention to a parenting guru who can't even get her own kids to be quiet for 2 minutes so she can record a video. More to the point, there's a major problem with the consequences that she suggests. She calls them natural. I don't even know what the hell that's supposed to mean in this context. But they would more aptly be called flimsy and toothless. The problem with a consequence, like pulling the car over momentarily before you start driving again, or taking TV away only until dinner is that those consequences cause no discomfort or pain or even inconvenience to your children. They aren't going to care about the consequences because there's no reason to care. A consequence should be something that causes them enough grief that they want to avoid it in the future. No other consequence has any meaning or will have any impact. So think of the consequences that she says don't work. Taking away screen time, grounding, taking away a party that they were supposed to go to. But no, those are all good consequences. Those are effective consequences. Why? This is real simple. Because it's stuff that the kid will not like. Okay, a child will be upset about losing screen time and losing a party, etc. And that's the whole point of the consequence. They have to be upset with it. If they're not upset with it, there's no point. Okay, this is one of the reasons why timeouts often don't work when they're overused and not used in the right way. Because the kid doesn't care. You gotta sit for 5 minutes and they don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't make an impact. The problem is that many parents today are terrified of making their children upset. They'd rather be friends than authority figures. They're so focused on validating their kids that they've lost all sight of the much more important job, which is guiding, instructing, and civilizing their kids. That's the primary role of a parent. That is parenting. Gentle parenting, like so many modern methods to come before it and so many others that will come after, may more accurately be called non-parenting. It is not a new way of fulfilling your parenting duties, but a way of abdicating them entirely. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.